The United States Department of Defense is one of the largest landlords on Earth. It manages a global portfolio of over 500,000 facilities, spread across more than 27 million acres of land.
That's an area larger than the entire state of Virginia. From sprawling city-sized bases to forgotten outposts in the desert, these installations represent the peak of American military might. But when the world falls and the dead begin to walk, nearly every single one of them will become a tomb. We are about to count down the top 5 U.S. military installations that offer a real chance at survival. We'll analyze their strengths, their fatal flaws, and their unique assets.
Before we begin the countdown, let's run a quick mental simulation. Imagine your town is overrun right now. You have 30 seconds to decide where to go for safety. Your options are the local high school, the shopping mall, or the town police station. Each has pros and cons. Which do you choose, and what's your #1 reason? Post your choice in the comments below.
What's the first thing people think of during a zombie apocalypse? Get to a military base. It sounds like a perfect plan, but this is the fortress fallacy, and it's a mistake that will get millions killed. The truth is, the vast majority of military bases are guaranteed death traps. Most are located right next to or even inside major population centers, making them immediate targets for overwhelming waves of infected.
Their fences are designed to stop vehicles, not a relentless tide of bodies pressing forward 24/7. Most importantly, a base is only as strong as the people inside. A large population means a higher chance of an internal outbreak. When the chain of command shatters, that fortress becomes a chaotic, inescapable prison. True survival means choosing your destination wisely.
So what's the absolute worst place you could possibly be? The Pentagon. It's not just a bad choice, it's a mathematically perfect disaster. With nearly 30,000 people working there, it would be one of the first and fastest places to fall to an internal outbreak. It sits in the heart of the Washington, D.C. metro area, a region of over 6 million people, guaranteeing an infinite horde at its gates.
Its 5-sided, ring corridor design is a labyrinthine nightmare, perfect for ambushes and getting lost, but terrible for clearing and securing. It's a bureaucratic maze. The building is a symbol of strength, but in a world of the dead, it's nothing more than a 17-mile-long concrete coffin. Choosing the Pentagon for safety is like choosing an aquarium for a fire.
Let's look at another common mistake. Thinking bigger is always better. Consider Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood, in Texas. This base is colossal, home to tens of thousands of soldiers and their families. In the initial chaos, this population density becomes its greatest weakness. An outbreak on a base this size would be like a wildfire in a dry forest, unstoppable and all-consuming. The very soldiers meant to defend it would become the first wave of a highly disciplined, zombified army.
The lesson here is critical. Even a fortress with immense firepower can be destroyed from within. Sometimes the greatest threat is standing right next to you in line. To properly rank our top 5, we need a clear blueprint for what makes a base a true sanctuary. We've developed 4 non-negotiable criteria. First is extreme remoteness. The farther a base is from a major population center, the longer it will take for the horde to find it. Second is impenetrable defensibility. This means natural barriers like mountains or oceans, not just chain-link fences. Third is resource self-sufficiency. A winning base must have its own source of power, water, and ideally, the ability to produce food. Finally, each base on our list has a unique X factor, a special asset that dramatically changes the survival calculus. A base without these 4 things isn't a fortress. It's just a temporary shelter. This brings us to our number 5 survivor base, Naval Base Kitsap in Washington. Located on a peninsula across from Seattle, Kitsap is a sprawling complex, but its true value lies in its X factor.
It is the home port for America's Pacific Fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. These are not just vessels. They are self-contained underwater ecosystems capable of staying submerged for months, generating their own oxygen and fresh water.
The base itself may be difficult to hold, but a small, disciplined crew could escape on a Trident submarine, disappearing beneath the waves to wait out the apocalypse in total isolation. They are the ultimate escape vehicle. When the land is lost, the only viable option might be to leave it behind entirely. Survival becomes a deep dive. But for every strength, there is a weakness. A naval-based Kitsap has an Achilles heel the size of a city. That would be Seattle. The base is separated from the metro area's 4 million people only by the Puget Sound, a distance that a determined horde could eventually cross via remaining bridges or even by walking the seafloor.
The initial days would be a frantic race against time, secure a submarine and its supplies before the entire peninsula is overrun by a tidal wave of the dead from Seattle and Tacoma. The base's deep-water ports make it a sanctuary, but its proximity to a major city makes it a ticking time bomb. The real question is, can you escape before that bomb goes off?
For our number 4 spot, we journey far to the north, to Eielson Air Force Base, Alaska. This base's primary weapon isn't its fighter jets or its armories, it's the planet itself. The Alaskan interior is one of the most brutal environments on Earth, with winter temperatures plunging to 60 degrees below zero. This extreme cold is a game changer. It would freeze zombies solid, immobilizing entire hordes for months at a time, allowing survivors to clear them out with ease.
The base is also incredibly remote, buffered by hundreds of miles of unforgiving wilderness. It has its own power plant and a private water supply. In this frozen wasteland, the environment is a more effective barrier than any wall ever built. Winter is not coming. It's a permanent ally.
But that Alaskan isolation is a dangerous gamble. While its remoteness keeps the zombies out, it also cuts you off from the rest of the world permanently. Eielson is entirely dependent on a fragile supply chain for food, fuel, and spare parts. When that chain is severed, survival becomes a brutal race to become fully self-sufficient before the first long, dark winter sets in. Can you establish greenhouses? Can you hunt enough to feed everyone? A single failed harvest or a depleted fuel reserve could mean a slow, cold death. It is a fortress of ice and snow, but if you can't learn to live off that frozen land, you'll find yourself just as dead as the frozen horde outside your gate.
You know, analyzing these apocalyptic scenarios really makes you think about preparation in your own life. It's not about zombies. It's about being ready for anything. If you're finding this strategic breakdown as fascinating as I do, consider subscribing. We dive deep into practical and hypothetical survival every week, and hitting that button ensures you won't miss the next critical insight that could be a real game changer.
Now for our number 3 pick, the Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center in California. Perched high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, this isn't a base, it's a fortress sculpted by nature. Its X factor is the terrain. The base is surrounded by granite cliffs, steep slopes, and treacherous passes that are difficult for highly trained Marines to navigate, let alone a clumsy, unthinking zombie horde. It's a natural bottleneck that would grind any large-scale assault to a halt.
The personnel there are experts in surviving and fighting in the most austere conditions on Earth. They are trained to thrive where others perish. In this high-altitude sanctuary, the mountain itself is your best defense. The high ground is everything.
However, the very thing that makes the MWTC so defensible also makes it incredibly difficult to live in. Surviving on that high ground comes at a steep price. The rocky terrain and harsh climate make large-scale agriculture nearly impossible. Resupply from the outside world is a non-starter. This means survivors would be entirely dependent on what they can hunt, gather, and what limited supplies they have on hand.
It becomes a battle against time and starvation. The zombies might never reach you, but hunger will. It's a stark reminder that an impenetrable defense is worthless if you starve to death behind it. You have to conquer the mountain before you can conquer the dead.
Entering our number 2 spot is a location shrouded in secrecy and isolation. Dugway Proving Ground in Utah. This is where the U.S. military tests its defenses against chemical and biological weapons. The base is massive, over 800,000 acres, and is situated in an extremely remote desert hours from the nearest city. Its security is legendary, designed to contain some of the deadliest pathogens known to man.
That built-in quarantine infrastructure makes it almost perfectly designed to withstand a zombie outbreak. Its isolation and existing high-security protocols provide a ready-made defense. It's a fortress built to fight invisible enemies. A zombie horde is a comparatively simple threat to manage for a place like Dugway.
But Dugway's dark secret is also its most terrifying X factor. The base is a storage site for a horrifying collection of chemical and biological agents. This presents a chilling dual fact. The facility contains the knowledge to potentially engineer a counteragent to the zombie plague, but it also holds the risk of an accidental release of something far worse. A single mistake, a single breach in containment during a firefight could unleash an airborne pathogen that makes zombies look like a manageable problem. The question is whether you are willing to gamble on a cure when the cost of failure is a world where nothing can survive. It's the ultimate high-risk, high-reward scenario.
And now, the unquestionable king. The #1 best U.S. military base to survive the zombie apocalypse is the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado. This is not just a base, it's a legend. It is a self-contained city buried inside a hollowed-out mountain, designed with one purpose: to survive the end of the world. Built during the Cold War to withstand a multi-megaton nuclear blast, its entrance is protected by 25-ton blast doors.
A zombie horde is an insignificant threat to a structure like this. It is the single most defensible military installation on the planet. For the undead, Cheyenne Mountain is not a fortress to be sieged. It's a geographic impossibility. The war would be over before it even began. What makes Cheyenne Mountain the undisputed champion is its total self-sufficiency. Deep inside the granite mountain are massive man-made reservoirs holding millions of gallons of water. It has its own underground power plant and a vast stockpile of fuel, food, and medical supplies, designed to support over 1,000 people for months without any contact with the outside world.
It has advanced air filtration systems that can seal it off from any atmospheric contaminant, be it nuclear fallout or an airborne pathogen. The complex was literally engineered to be a lifeboat for humanity. It is the ultimate doomsday bunker. When the world outside has ended, the world inside Cheyenne Mountain would go on.
But even in the perfect bunker, one final threat remains, and it's the one you bring inside with you. The final boss of any apocalypse scenario isn't the zombies, it's surviving the other people. Months or even years sealed inside a steel and rock bubble would create extreme psychological pressure. Cabin fever, power struggles, and despair would become the new enemies.
The greatest challenge wouldn't be keeping the dead out, but keeping the living from turning on each other. Cheyenne Mountain can protect you from the apocalypse, but it cannot protect you from yourself. The real battle for survival always begins after the doors are sealed shut.
So, as we've seen, surviving the apocalypse isn't just about finding the nearest wall.
It's a brutal calculation of geography, resources, defensibility, and most importantly, the human element. From the death traps of the Pentagon to the ultimate sanctuary of Cheyenne Mountain, the difference between life and death lies in making the right choice long before the crisis begins.
But what if you can't get to a billion-dollar bunker? Most of us can't. In our next video, we'll reveal the top 5 civilian structures you probably drive past every day that could be your secret key to survival. You will not want to miss it.